Hello, welcome to a Spiritual Ascension, my 5-year journey, where I'm telling my entire story about my ascension um, and everything that happened to me during that time. So when I left off, and hopefully if you've been following along, that you started at the intro video and are going in chronological order from there, because it's kind of hard when you come right into a video in the middle here and may not understand where I left off. So in the last video, I had just left the homeless shelter that I was in for 4 months. And I ended up going to a nearby hotel in another town. And it was kind of off the beaten path. So where the shelter was, it was easy for me to get everywhere I needed to go, to get to my job, to get to like the food store, to get to the laundry, things like that. Um, and now I was kind of like off a highway type of thing where you had to have a car in order to, and I didn't have a car, um, to get anywhere. So I had built up a little bit of savings and I was hoping to be able to soon rent a room. Um, it was kind of interesting too, like when you're in a shelter, they want you to eventually, get into your own place, have your own apartment, um, which is a good thing. And, they want you to get on Section 8, apply for Section 8 and try to get that. Um, as good as the benefits can be of the benefits that they give you, healthcare and, food stamps. They don't really call them food stamps anymore. Like just government assistance. As plentiful as that is, there's also a downside of it, which makes some people stay in the system. It's too easy not to. And then there's the other thing of you can't make so much, you can only make so much money in order to kind of get a place. Because now if you're on Section 8, you can only make so much, or to continue to get your health care or food stamps. So a lot of people, I think it kind of holds people back of not, you know, becoming their full potential because they know if they do too much, a lot of these benefits are going to be taken away from them. So that's, I feel, is the downside of government assistance, right? And just people who abuse it. So when I left, I, for some reason, I don't remember, I can't remember now. I think I was getting, somebody's smoke alarm is going off. Hopefully you don't hear that. But if you do, they should probably be turning it off in a second. Okay, I got it. Um, I forgot what I was saying. Okay, let's jump to staying in a hotel now. So I got there at the end of January and I still had my 30-hour a week job. And in order to get there, I had to get a taxi every day there and back because it was, I mean, I could have walked it, but it was a kind of a far walk. And then I would have had to walk along the highway too, which wasn't too safe. So I would have a taxi driver pick me up in the morning and it dropped me off right in town, which wasn't too far, at least to get me in town. And then I wasn't spending too much money on taxi fare. And then from there, I would walk to work. So that took me another like 20 minutes. And then I would walk back from work to a certain point. If I needed any groceries or anything, I would pick up groceries and then get a taxi back to the hotel. Um, it was so nice being in that hotel room, having my own space for the first time in almost 3 years that I had my own space and my own bathroom, of all things. Sharing a bathroom with like 22 other women was crazy. Well, we had two bathrooms, but still, like waiting, you have to go to the bathroom or whatever, and waiting for someone to come out, or they were taking a shower or something like that. It was so extremely difficult. I think that was the hardest part of it. But now to have my own bathroom, I used to now take two, three showers sometimes a day. And then, have someone come in and clean it every day too and leave me fresh, towels and things. I had a big, nice king size bed, and it was just like in heaven, compared to being up on the top bunk in the shelter. I also had a microwave and a small refrigerator, so I was able to buy some like pre-made um, dinners that I could heat up, other things that I could put in a microwave or make some sandwiches or whatever. I still receive my food stamps. I guess they're calling it what, EBT now? Card was still refilled for that month of February. So I was thankful for that. But I was no longer receiving cash money. I think that stopped when I first started working too. But just remembering that I would work from 8 to 2 every day, and 2 o'clock walking back to, the center of town, maybe picking up a couple items at the store, and then, getting a taxi back to the hotel and just having that whole afternoon and evening to myself. And my manager was just starting to implement each of us taking one day to work from home during the week. So I think I may have taken, what day did I have? I don't know if it was Tuesday. I think, not sure what day it was, Wednesday or Tuesday, to work from home. So that helped out a lot too, because now I didn't have to spend money on taxi fare, because now I only had to go into work 4 days a week. I just know that I was in such a good place of peace after having gone through almost 3 years of non-peace. And along your journey, it's kind of like you go through these spurts where the universe, you're kind of going through this period where a lot is happening to you and you don't know how to, well, I shouldn't say you don't know how to, but you're getting through this time period of great hardship, and it's very trying on you. And then once you get through that period, it's kind of like the universe lets you rest. So it may be a couple of weeks, it may be whatever, but it was like I had this time of rest now in February. The rates at the hotel were enough. I don't know. I might have been paying, if I paid like by the week, I think it was less money. And I was using like practically my whole paycheck not all of it, but to pay for the hotel and for the taxi. And then I had the food, the EBT card to get food. So it kind of all worked out. But I was getting to a point where I wasn't able to save up money like I needed to. The money that I had was going to, the hotel. So I don't know, it seemed like I was paying for like a week's time, maybe around $600. Or maybe I did even for longer time. I might have done it for like 8, 9 days. I can't remember at all. I'm sorry. It's funny that I think about it now. You could remember things that happened like a year ago, but like the specifics, because I was trying to go forward and go forward and go forward to the next thing, um, that the little details kind of got lost in the mix. So some of these details, like I can't recall. Anyway, it was just really nice to have that time by myself. And as nice as it was to get away from the situation with that family member that I had gone through for 2.5 years when I first landed in the shelter, it's kind of like, when you first get someone and somewhere and you're like, oh, wow, this is really nice. This is so cool. But when you're there, you start to see all the aspects of it that you don't see right away, the bad parts. And that was the stuff that was coming out at the shelter the longer I was there. That the staff was, you know, taking things from that were donated um, for the residents, were taking them home for themselves. As I said in another video, there was the assistant director was having a relationship with one of the residents. Um, it was just a lot of chaos, and I was so angry at the director because she kind of had her nose up in the air that she couldn't be bothered with, like you handle all that stuff. And I have to attend, all these other, events and represent, you know, the shelter. And, it was, I saw like right through her. And that's when I was leaving. I was telling you guys that I just like went off on her because I was like, you're not even seeing what's going on in here. People were doing drugs in there that, getting away with that kind of stuff. And just so many things that I never thought I would experience. Um, but now, like Spirit told me, you're going to work with homeless women like 4 or 5 years beforehand, and not knowing that I was actually going to end up in a homeless shelter. So, um, anyway, I ended up staying in a hotel for the month of February. And then I started looking for a room to rent. And Spirit always does things last minute. And I was looking and looking and calling and trying people trying to scam me out of money, and it was so bad. Um, I finally found, like, almost towards the last day, I saw an ad on, I think, Facebook, for a room in a nearby town it would be easier for me to get to work. And so I was going to wait till the next day to call, or to respond, I should say, to the ad. But then I did that night, and she responded back, And she was like, you can come tonight to see it if you want to. And I was going to say, well, maybe I'll wait. And then something said, nope, go tonight, go tonight. So I had to take a taxi, which cost money, to go and see it. And um, it was perfect. And the lady was really nice, which I'll tell you more about that whole situation. Um, she said she would tell me the next day if I had it or if somebody else. And we had sat down and talked, and from the feeling I was getting, she was perhaps on the brink of a spiritual awakening. And I come across a lot of people like that. And she seemed like she needed help too. And she had kind of looked at my Facebook page and saw, the work that I did. And I think that's what also attracted her to finally, she reached out to them the next day and said that, I could have the room. So I think actually that was like a Tuesday when I went over there. And then Thursday was like March 1st, I believe. And then after work, was it after work? Or did I go early that morning? I think I went early that morning. I left the hotel, packed everything up, and went and dropped everything at the apartment, well, for my room. And then I had to leave and go to work. So I'm going to leave it there for this segment, and it gets interesting from this point on, I swear. But it gets really interesting. The first 2.5, 3 years which I thought were the hard part, that was nothing. So just know if you are on your journey, the first part of it may seem difficult because you're probably at a point where you're getting rid of old stuff, old situations, old people in your life, relationships, situations, places, whatever it may be. It's kind of like the sweeping away um, part. And now you're going to go into your actual um, ascension of your soul growth from here. So I'll talk about that more because that's pretty interesting that those first few years, or for you, it may be different, was all about because it may be how much you have in your life to get rid of, right? And how fast you decide to do that. It took me a long time to recognize that this family member was a karmic person who I needed to rid of my life. And because I think it took me so long, I probably dragged that those 2.5 years out longer than it needed to be. But I'll talk more about that longer because that's pretty interesting. That seemed like those first 2.5, 3 years were about sweeping and also preparing for what was coming. Okay. So please like, share, and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to spend time with me talking about your own journey, there's a link below to book time with me. I also have done several courses on the Ascension journey, and that link is also below. I'll see you on the next one, okay?